I think the boy wonders looking to trade in his bike. Here's your look at the brand new McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse, Batman and Robin's Robin. The Dark Knight battles his greatest threats yet. Cold-hearted Mr. Freeze, venomous Poison Ivy, and the unstoppable brute known only as Bane. Batman finds himself at odds with his crime-fighting comrade Robin, no longer satisfied with his role as a sidekick, as Mr. Freeze threatens to unleash a new ice age upon the citizens of Gotham City. The dynamic duo, now joined by the heroic newcomer Batgirl, must learn to work as a team before Gotham City is put on ice. I'm sure Robin is the reason why Superman works alone. Before, of course, we get a closer look at the figure, grabbing already the tape measure, as you can see, Robin stands at about 6 3/4 of an inch in height, or the figure is going to be about 17 centimeters tall. Completing the other half now of the dynamic duo, bringing earlier looked at George Clooney Batman, so you can see the differences between the two figures. Now, in the movie, Batman is taller than Robin, and I think that scales nicely here in the figures as well. We also recently had a look at the Uma Thurman Poison Ivy. She again seems to also be a little bit taller than the Boy Wonder. Nice looking figures what we've gotten so far. Now, we only still have really Batgirl to have a look at, but still looking at the way that she looks in her plastic prison, actually, I think she's a nice looking figure as well. Whatever you may feel when it comes to the Batman and Robin movie, I think honestly McFarlane Toys has really turned out a really good wave of figures here. A display stand, a trading card, Freeze's arms and frozen parts, all come included with the Boy Wonder. First, the figure comes included with a display stand. Nothing overly impressive about the display stand. I'm sure if you've already collected 100 of these, this will simply just be 101. The logo is still printed down below in the DC logo. Still, I wish for a Batman and Robin release that these could have all been kind of done in more of a frosted blue. And of course, there's one little neighboring peg that plugs off to either one of the Boy Wonder's boots. Although he has 2 boots, he has 1 peg. Choose very wisely. Going to move that to the side. The figure also comes included. Funny enough, though, we've been building a poster puzzle in the process. Sorry to spit on everybody. We got ourselves the Boy Wonder. Now, that's basically just the part of the actual 90s poster of Batman and Robin. If we bring back in the earlier ones, Robin isn't the one that's going to be a little off to the side because, of course, we got Poison Ivy down below. We got part of the chin of George Clooney. If this is part of the hair for, of course, Barbara Gordon, then you would basically have... well, she's not, I guess, Barbara Gordon in the movie. You basically would have the other half of Alicia Silverstone's head over here. So I guess the poster would basically look like this. And then Mr. Freeze would be on the top. Yeah, I mean, again, for what these all are, I can't really imagine a screen grab really been pulled from the movie. Although a funny enough screen grab would have been the one where Robin's leaping in the air and Mr. Freeze freezes him. Honestly, if I was George Clooney, I would have just left the character there. But of course, Batman has to save people, so he puts the Boy Wonder basically in the big... kind of like a little bathtub water, and then heats it up with the laser. Honestly, I would have just left Robin the way he was. Maybe, if anything, take him back to the Batcave, put him in sort of a freezed section, so he'd always have the Boy Wonder as a frozen statue. That's just me. On the back, though, on the back of the trading card, the real name, though, is Dick Grayson. What's unfortunate, though, is about all these cards is it isn't so much specific to the character, as these are all basically just one solid synopsis of the movie, and they just have, again, repeated it times 3. When we eventually do look at I will keep calling her Barbara Gordon. When we do have a look at the Batgirl from this film, she also is going to have, I'm sure, the same read-up on the back of her card as well. It'd be somewhat funny, though, if hers just happens to be the one that's different, and all the other ones have basically kept the still same. Move that to the side. Then, of course, he also comes included with Mr. Freeze's arms. Now, I did again want to look at him because, of course, where we've left off from Mr. Freeze, we've got ourselves 2 lower legs already attached onto the torso. We can now attach again onto the arms. I don't think I really have to wait necessarily to get Batgirl out of her packaging because, of course, her shoulder pads, not hers, but Mr. Freeze's, are supposed to clip here on the front circles, and there's a couple of circles here on the back, little open areas. I'm sure the shoulders will plug on fine without me having to worry about the arms being in first. So I probably could put these in now, add the shoulder pads later. Should I just wait? Okay, maybe I'll wait. In the off chance that for some reason at all I end up screwing this up, I might just leave the arms off, put the shoulder pads, or bring the shoulder pads at least out so I know where exactly they're supposed to go, then maybe put the arms in. Does that sound okay? Okay, I hope so. One thing I did also want to mention about these, I didn't mention in the earlier review when we looked at Poison Ivy, be careful of these. These are always things that come along when it comes to torso pieces from McFarlane Build-A-Figures. These little socket joints are supposed to be there to hide the joints for the shoulders, but periodically they're always prone to falling off. In fact, this one actually falls off the most. That's what actually one of the reasons why I did want to put the arms in first, just because, again, it was one less thing to worry about, but I'm going to take some chances. I don't know. I hope I'm not going to regret it. I'm just going to put Mr. Freeze as he is right now over to the side. I'm going to take the arms non-attached. I'm also going to move those also to the side as well. The other thing that Robin does come include with is a batarang. No. A rope? No. Lasers? No, not at all. Actually, Robin comes include with these freeze parts. I did joke earlier that in the beginning of the movie, Robin basically it's frozen over. These little parts are supposed to replicate that. You can kind of see like the way it's shaped, how it's supposed to clearly fit around his face. It doesn't necessarily make out the face of Robin, although you can kind of see there's a little mouth there, maybe what would be the semblance of a nose, but this is basically just a translucent plastic piece that's supposed to fit over top of Robin's body. Now, this one makes the most sense because it's going to fit around, well, you know what, let's just pick the figure up. It's supposed to fit around his face like this. You know, again, it kind of gives you a good, somewhat of an idea. I think in the movie, from what I remember, Robin's he's kind of like, you know, like he's leaping forward like this, and then Mr. Freeze freezes, and basically I think the ice is facing this way. But it gives us a close enough facsimile of what it's supposed to actually look like. And then you get this part, which I can only really guess is supposed to kind of continue on his shoulders. So there's those two parts, and then you get this part to Robin basically only really having the tops of his shoulders frozen over. Now this is going to make things a little bit more difficult when it comes to the figure standing, so you know what, let's just grab this place. I'm going to put it right there just for right now. In the review also of Batman, we did get these parts. I did say at one point in the review of Batman that I thought these were shoulder pads. That's clearly not the case. Then I realized that maybe these were for the hands of Mr. Freeze. Well, to bring back in Mr. Freeze's hands, I feel like the hands are almost a little too big. They're supposed to, I'm sure, just clamp onto the ends like this. But I wonder if you could also then take these parts and clamp them onto Robin's hands. So again, like, you know, again, we've already got part of Robin already frozen. We might as well just finish the job. So I just clip those onto his hand. Whether that's supposed to intend for Robin or not, or Mr. Freeze, get, again, like these little ice effects that we got with Batman. So I guess, if anything, you could use them for Robin as well. I mean, it looks interesting enough, but really without the rest of the body also having it as well, it sort of just feels like he's wearing ice armor. And I think that'd be a little bit silly. So we're going to go ahead and just right now and take these off. Take off the side piece here too as well. And we'll take the front piece off, revealing Robin, who hopefully hasn't been suffocating this whole time. The look of Robin actually is quite good. Consistently, I've been very impressed with this line so far. Of course, the George Clooney, Chris O'Donnell, and Uma Thurman. I think all of them as well look really much like the actors and the actresses. Even looking really at Alicia Silverstone's Batgirl, I mean, I still think it looks a lot like the character. Head sculpt-wise, I think it's really quite good. I wouldn't be at least a bit surprised at all if we don't get ourselves a Batman Forever wave down the road. And I'm sure they probably could simply just use this body again. Granted, the parts that are actually more like the Nightwing design, they would have to have retooled this, because this isn't just simply painted in place. This is actually carved into the plastic itself. So they would have to have, of course, smooth this over, or get basically just basic body they probably already have in their inventory, and then just tool the parts that have a little Robin symbol off to the side. I'm sure they probably could even use still the same cape, and I'm convinced that they probably could use the same head sculpt, just changing out the mask a little bit, because the original Robin mask was kind of a little bit more rectangular, and it didn't have the little side wings there on the sides. Head sculpt, though, not only is sculpted well, but painted equally good too. The darker eyes there, of course, you got Robin's little pupils peering out, and a more neutral head sculpt and a neutral expression that he has on his face. But it works, again, really good for the character. The coloring on his hair matches that of the movie. He has kind of more of a, I guess, like chestnut colored hair. Skin tone is really good on this. And I will say, too, like the skin tone matches nicely for the neck. My guess is that they probably would have painted this part, in this collar in black, and left the skin tone behind. If it was the other way around, for example, and they had to paint the skin over top of the black, then you probably would have had a noticeable color difference between the face and the neck. But actually the two are pretty close to with one another. Now, of course, when it comes to the rest of his outfit, I can't help but obviously point out the fact that this one does also have the bat nipples, bringing in the Batman from before, so you can see the equally placed nipples on both Batman and Robin. The thing about it, though, I think I may have even mentioned in Batman's review, I said Roman. I think they're based actually more on Greek statues. I don't honestly get the whole idea as to why they even had to put those in place in the first place. I mean, it would work for a Greek movie. It certainly would not have worked, though, for, I feel, a superhero movie. And I think, funny enough, I don't think we've ever seen nipples on bat suits or any superhero suits for that matter since. Now this one doesn't have, as again, all the black. Basically, the problem I really had with Batman, while being a nice looking figure, I felt it really did lack a lot of those nice little blue highlights. Part of me is almost even tempted to go back in with a blue paint, maybe a little bit of a dry brushing, and try to dry brush on a little bit of the blue highlights to Batman's body, because I think that was really the only thing that was really lacking on Batman's body. I don't feel really necessarily as much for Robin. Like, Robin really had in the movie like a black suit with only, again, like the red accents. I would say, if anything, maybe the red accents aren't quite matching the way they were in the film. I feel like in the film, they were probably a little bit more of a burgundy color, not sort of this reddish brown that we end up getting here. Now, unfortunately, with the way that they've actually designed this, just more for the suit, there's a section right here for the obvious places of the points. The little hinge joints there for the elbows, unfortunately, do break up this little section, because if not for that, of course, you'd have a seamless line running all the way down the forearm. He does have it also in the front of his body as well. Again, it looks good, but I feel like in the movie it's more of a reddish color than what we're actually getting presented here. He has the little utility belt down below. This is made of a more matte black plastic, so it doesn't have as much the shiny finish that the rest of the figure has. He does have a very similar to cape to Batman, although obviously Batman's going to have a much longer cape. Robin's is a little bit shorter, and it doesn't fan out as much. Although I do kind of like the way it curves off to the side like this, and it's made of a soft goods material. Speaking of soft goods, by the way, Robin does also have a soft goods. I think, was it this one or was it Batman Forever? I think it was Batman Forever, where they actually had used just a remolded, was it the body casting for Val Kilmer, where ultimately, though, it gave Robin sort of a larger section down below here. I think they actually did use more of the casting for I can't remember, Chris O'Donnell. Now that they obviously have used the body mold for Chris O'Donnell in Batman and Robin, I think part of him probably was still thinking, hey, was there mold still available for Val Kilmer's body casting? All right, stop that. Then down below, of course, the figure does have, again, like shinier legs here, kind of more of a matte finish here for the boots. Again, it's one of those, I didn't realize this was actually on the suit itself. Robin has these little Robin symbols there on the tops of his boots. Did everyone else know that those were there? Robin had them, Batman had them, of course, on the tops of his boots. I don't think it works as well for Batman. Somehow I just picture it be something that makes a little bit more sense for Robin. So, of course, he's got that on the top of his boots. Now, for the figure's articulation, it's pretty much the same as both of the Batman that we've already had a look at. Poison Ivy, sort of in the same way, had the same similar posability, but of course, Robin's just happened to have a bulkier body. The head does look up by that far, so he can look a fair high reach, like he can look up to the sky, see if there's, oh wait, there's no Robin symbol. Oh, now you can have his head down because he's all sad and depressed. You can also rock the head back and forth as well. You can rotate the head all the way around as well if you want. Shoulders easily rotate. There's no hindrances at all with the shoulders being with the way basically the cape is attached to the shoulders. They don't stick out far enough necessarily where they're going to obstruct, say, rotation on the shoulders. You can easily bring those arms out for Robin at 90 degrees. The figure does have a swivel in his bicep once again, double hinge as always, usually on these elbows, and the hands rotate all the way around. For Robin's upper torso, it's in two places. So, of course, this section right here, you can probably already see the cut. I mean, again, like, it's a pretty seamless look from the front. Very clearly, I mean, obviously, I'm not blind. I can see, like, there's a line cut right there where the top of the torso does rotate. But, you know, to be honest, like, looking at it the way it is, Robin's and Batman's, for that matter, had a pretty clean looking line. Like, there wasn't anything where, like, the top of the torso was wider than the abdomen area. Some of the earlier problems with McFarlane DC Multiverse figures, that they made the torso too wide up the top, and then you notice the very obvious cut right here. The bodies have since, in recent years, have become a lot more tapered, a lot more form-fitted. So, of course, even though he does have the ball joint here, and he has a ball joint in his abdomen, it's a pretty clean-looking sculpt. Legs, once again, are in ratcheted joints. You can bring those legs forward or out. You can take those legs and move them forward. Move them back. Unfortunately, though, again, using a soft goods for the lower trunks, every time you're doing this, usually with the legs, it always results in these lifting these up. And then after a while, you sort of start to see a little lip that develops, just because, again, they're using a soft goods material right here. Legs do swivel only slightly, though, on Robin. Double hinge on the knee. And when it comes again to his ankles, they move up and down this way, and they rock back and forth with, of course, always the appreciative toe articulation. Nice looking figure, like, consistently. It's so strange for me to say this. Now, I know I did say earlier, was it maybe in the Batman review, it didn't make any sense for me whatsoever why they chose Batman and Robin to sort of be the next wave of figures from movie tie-ins. We'd already get, of course, the Nolan Universe Batman, And of course, we got all the characters that would inhabit those universes. But then, like, of the earlier franchise, the first 4 films, they decided to do Batman and Robin, the 4th film, and honestly, the least successful or least liked by fans. And yet, ironically, they translate to some really solid-looking figures. If you can kind of get over your biased opinions of Batman and Robin just being a bomb, they're actually nice-looking figures that we've gotten from McFarlane Toys. Both Batman and Robin have been really great-looking figures, even if they're going to now take a tumble. Stopping to pick up Batman and Robin from taking their tumble at the end of that review. Boy, that was perfectly timed. Getting now Robin over to the turntable, and in final looks, you can see I've got the figure displayed like Batman from before in kind of a dynamic pose. Although, unfortunately, once again, the poor figures don't come included with any accessories whatsoever. Sure, yeah, you could easily pillage a Bat gadget from another Bat figure, but even if you wanted to, you couldn't even display them in his hands because the figure does have closed fists. At the very least, if you're not going to include gadgets, please at least include gripping hands so I could use a weapon from another Batman figure. Despite that, and despite what coloring I feel is a little off from the symbol that he has on his chest, because I think, again, in the movie, it's kind of more of a crimson red, it isn't quite this sort of weird orangey caramel color that they end up painting on the figure. Despite that, though, it's a nice-looking Robin. I'm sure that we are going to be getting this Robin mold again, used again for the Batman and Forever Robin, which basically would have given us more of a classic suit, just on a much older character with a very awkwardly sized codpiece that he had on his lower trunks. Obviously, I'm sure Chris O'Donnell probably just said, "Hey, for this movie, can I just use that Robin suit again?" I was a big fan of that. No, I can't. No, I have to use my own body casting. Oh, drats. Nice looking figure, though. We're one step closer to building Mr. Freeze. What's left behind still is the shoulders, still the head. Both of them are going to come include with the Alicia Silverstone Batgirl. Make sure you're coming back to this channel for those 2 reviews, of course, Batgirl and the finally completed Mr. Freeze, if you haven't already done so. And first of all, hey, if you enjoyed this video, I want to hit with a like. But if you haven't already done so and you're new to this channel, you stumbled onto this channel where we're talking about oversized cod pieces, you're welcome for that, by the way. If you're enjoying the content, though, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. And you're turning on the bell notification. And most importantly, you're coming back with your bat peepers peeled, because we will, of course, be still looking at Batgirl, still looking at the completed Mr. Freeze. And, of course, as always, we will be looking at some more DC Multiverse reviews. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.